Just to start off with a reminder that the meeting is being filmed this evening, although the audience will not be filmed. So the first item this evening is item 36, which is the apologies.
Chairman, apologies from Simon Weeks.
Thank you very much indeed, Anne. The next item is the minutes of the previous meeting. Does anyone have any comments or amendments? So if everyone accepts those, please raise your hand. Thank you very much. Okay, item 38 on the agenda is declarations of interest. So anyone have any? David?
Yes, I would declare an interest in an interest in the shareholders report 23, as I'm a non-executive director on the holding company. Sorry, I have declared an interest in the item on the shareholders report, as I'm a non-executive director on the holding company of those companies.
Stuart?
I likewise need to chairperson who goes to item 41. Shareholders report, I'm a paid non-executive director of the Conservative.
I also need to declare a national interest in agenda item 41. Shareholder report, as my wife is a paid non-executive director of WPC Holdings Limited. I also declare a prejudicial interest in agenda item 45. As the company I work for is owned by Veolia, the current provider of our waste collection contract, so I will therefore withdraw whilst the discussion of that item takes place.
Thank you very much indeed. Now moving on to item 39, the public question time. The first question is from Barry Keach. Barry?
Yes.
Lovely, thank you. Would you like to?
Happy for people to read it as it is. I think it's fairly self-explanatory in terms of the question I'm asking.
Thank you very much. If you would like to come up to the mic, then you can ask a supplementary if you'd like to. But I'm happy to answer the question if you'd like to stay where you are. And then if you do have a supplementary, then you can come up.
Okay, well, I'll stay here, and if I have anything that I need to say afterwards, I'll happily say it from here.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed. So first of all, I'd like to express my sincere apologies for not responding promptly to your email. Heeding public concerns early in the 2000s about failed private sector regeneration initiatives in Woking Town Centre, the Borough Council adopted a master plan in 2010 following much public engagement and consultation. It set out a vision to reinforce the vitality and viability of the town. Subsequently, the Borough created Regeneration Company to enable this vision and investment led on a £138 million regeneration initiative at 3 main sites. These are Peach Place, Elmsfield and Carnival Pool. Work is completed and occupied at Peach Place Phase 1. Peach Place Phase 2 redevelopment is underway, and Elmsfield is due to start soon, and the Carnival Pool car park is completed and open, with planning in hand for the next phases. Environmental improvements, jointly commissioned and funded, that's £3.9 million, by the Borough and Town are progressing well in the marketplace right now. Acknowledging our housing needs, as set out in the South East Plan, we also adopted a core strategy in 2010 which envisaged dealing with our strategic housing requirements in 4 high-quality infrastructure-rich development locations, which are known as SDLs. These developments are south of the M4, Shinfield, Spencer's Wood, 3 Mile Cross, Arborfield, and North and South Wokingham. We master planned these through extensive public engagement and consultation and adopted them in final guidance in 2012. These were designed specifically as sustainable developments, each creating walkable districts with district and neighbourhood shopping centres, associated community buildings and secondary and primary schools, library space, employment uses, sports facilities, parks, open spaces, new roads, public transport and other facilities. There are local road improvements, 5 sustainable new roads which include the Eastern Relief Road, Northern Distributor Road, the Southern Distributor Road, Arborfield Cross Bypass, Winnersh Relief Road, 2 park and ride facilities, an interconnecting greenway network between the SDLs and the main towns of the district. The SDLs are being built now along with the £350 million of infrastructure. These infrastructures, as I said before, are 5 new roads, plus the Station Link Road, the Winnersh Relief Road, Lots of new pedestrian and cycle links, SANGs, which are open spaces, allotments, 3 new sports hubs, 7 new primary schools and an extension, 1 new secondary school, which has just opened formally this month, 5 new community buildings, 6 new neighbourhood centres, 1 new district centre, the science park, and 2 park and rides, which I mentioned before. As recently as August, the Housing and Finance Institute presented our council with a certificate for being housing business ready, recognising the achievements around planning and delivering implementation and sustainability. We've also been monitoring the satisfaction levels with the SDLs, and this shows an increasing and high level of satisfaction from residents now living on these sites, showing 84% satisfied compared with just 80% in 2016. The scale of delivery work currently being planned and implemented in Woking Borough provides evidence of a highly sustainable strategy. Clearly, the Borough Council shares your concerns, as we've invested substantially already in addressing them. The product of our plans is being implemented around us right now. However, as they appear to not be fully acknowledged or understood, I accept that perhaps we were guilty of not shouting loud enough about these impressive accomplishments. Do you have something? Yes, please come up and have a supplementary if you wish.
I don't need a microphone, I don't think. I'm sure everyone else can hear me. I'm very much aware of all the good work that you've done in terms of the developments and all the facilities that you put into those. I'm talking more about the town centre. We've lost Marks and Spencer's. I sit on a panel where I get questioned and provide suggestions to Marks and Spencer's, and it appears to me that Marks and Spencer's actually are beginning to question whether they should have left Wokingham. They put a lot of money into the garage down further out of town in a Simply Foods facility. I think if the council had had some interaction with them, certainly more than they did, we may well have retained Marks and Spencer's in a slightly different form. My view, which I've expressed to them, is that if they had saved the money that they put into Simply Foods and actually developed a food shop and a small cafe on the premises that they were occupying, I think that they would have actually done a lot better. And I just question whether the council is actually interacting with retailers to encourage them to come into the town and to provide some incentive to actually retain quality retailers in this town, because that is what really enhances the status of the town.
Thank you very much for your comments. I'm going to pass over to Stuart Munro because he's actually doing the town centre regeneration with his colleague, Councillor Philip Martin.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and we've recently been involved in completely understanding what we're doing here in the town centre and with our agents, which I'll talk a bit about later. There's an interesting conversation that has taken place with Marks and Spencer over the years. It isn't just Wokingham that they left with their smaller stores. They also have moved towards these larger, enormous stores like the ones they've got in Bracknell. A long conversation has taken place with them over the years. We did not see them go, as you can imagine, but we do understand their strategy, which is for these big mega stores in a very interesting place right next door to the largest Waitrose flagship in the country. And so their strategy's changed quite a lot, but we've been talking to them the whole time. So it's not as if we haven't taken any notice of this. We'd like to keep some of these retailers. And as far as we can, we're talking to lots of retailers for all of these spaces that we'll have when we rebuild the town. And there's some very exciting conversations taking place.
Do you actually have commitments from retailers?
Sorry. We're only allowed one question back again. But what I would say is you did also mention competitive rates, and we do offer competitive rates, and particularly when we're trying to attract people into the town. We do have a good rental strategy, and I'm sure that if you'd like to have an ongoing conversation with Stuart, you'd be happy to have that.
Yes, I would like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question is from Rachel Bishop-Fur. Next question to Stuart Munro.
Hi. This question is on agenda item 47, the letting of the Elmsfield building contract. I know that you've already got contracts with a hotel, a supermarket and cinema to occupy those elements of the scheme, but the Elsfield plans include a number of other retail units. How many of those other retail units have you got pre-let agreements in place for?
Well, firstly, thank you for your question. You're quite right. Council has been successful in securing several pre-lets to Premier Inn, Aldi and Everyman Cinemas to take units in the Elsfield development. These pre-lets represent approximately 65% by rental value of the proposed scheme, which is a very healthy result given this stage of the project. No other agreements have been signed completely at this point, although we are working on a number of further inquiries, some of them quite exciting. The council and their letting agents are struck partly with the professionals in these sorts of environments around the country. We're in conversation with a variety of businesses interested in taking units within the regeneration developments, national names and local independents. However, it's still early in the process, especially with the Peach-based Elsfield developments opening in late 2018 and 2019 respectively.
Thank you. And my supplementary question is this in line with where you expect it to be at this point in the project?
I wouldn't like to say where you are in this part of the project, but I think we've got a pretty good, healthy start to get these anchor, very valuable partners working with us already. It's a very strange market that we're in. I've just recently watched a very large development in Bracknell where 60% of the lets happened in the last 6 weeks before they opened. So it is a very strange environment that we work in. No, it would be much nicer if we had it all signed up and we knew that everybody's going to come when. But in reality, we haven't actually started the development announcement. We're just about to discuss later in the agenda. But we're on it and our agents are on it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your question. The next question is from Chris Wallace and is for Oliver Whistle. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I will let my questions stand, save you all some time.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for your question. To address your concerns in turn, I can clarify that we have run 3 staff surveys across the programme in November 2016, January 2017 and July 2017, asking the same questions to be consistent. We've had 690 responses in total with an average response rate of 22.5%, which is considered to be a good response rate. I'm sure that under any official survey, this level of response would be considered to be statistically representative. The survey is anonymous in order that staff can be honest in their responses. With regard to your point about staffing, I should clarify that the report we have this evening is a backward-looking report largely on the implementation of Phase 1 of the programme, which comprised the Council's back office staff. Housing is part 2 of Phase 2, which, as reported, has only recently commenced. Day-to-day management of staffing issues in our housing services remains a matter for the service. As reported to Council on the 21st of September, the operational housing services team is almost fully staffed, with 30 permanent, 10 fixed-term contracts, 7 agency and 8 secondees. That's 5 internal and 3 external to the housing service. And the rent team, which sits in another department, has 2 permanent and 2 agency staff. Some of these changes have been more to do with the Council's, we call it grow your own approach, more than anything else. Staff are given the opportunity to work in other roles, which is a cost-effective way of developing them. The operational staff in housing have not yet been directly impacted by 21st Century Council process, so it's hard to link staff turnover with the transformation programme at this stage. We have made a clear commitment to involve TLIP in a consultation about the design for the Council's housing function to address any concerns prior to any changes and improvements we make. And we intend to honour that commitment, and discussions are ongoing to arrange this.
Thank you. Supplementary question. We run staff surveys, or the Council does, every couple of years. the response rate there is between 35 and 40%, with 90+% positives. So it seems a trifle low, and you're not being given the full picture of what those responses are currently. Also, there's a section in my question about risk management. Have any of you or any of the 21st Century Council team read that document? It's the Sector Risk Profile 2017, issued by the Homes and Communities Agency. If you haven't, I would suggest it's a good read before you go to bed. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm Steve.
Thank you. We'll take your second question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Right, I will let Steve's questions stand as well.
Thank you very much. And Steve's question is to Councillor Alderman.
So, thank you for your question, and I do understand your concerns to protect the services provided for our tenants, and I share this objective. Our tenants are important to us, and it is a key priority of the Council to continue to provide high quality service to you all, and we seek to provide for the housing needs of all our residents. In terms of the business case, your question contains a misunderstanding. To clarify, the 4.7 million that the business case refers to is in relation to grant and ring-fenced funding for staffing costs only, and was accurate at the time the business case was compiled. It relates to staff outside of the general fund, which does include HRA and other ring-fenced areas of expenditure. This does not mean that these areas are outside the scope of the 21st Century Council programme, but it means that only 4 million of the estimated 4.5 million annual savings is attributable to the general fund. I would also assure you that the business case is only the starting point for detailed service design. As service areas are considered, the figures are updated and detailed design work is undertaken with those closely involved in delivering the services. And in this way, the starting point of the business case assumptions are thoroughly tested as the new design emerges. I don't therefore consider that a referral to overview and scrutiny, which is your suggestion, on the business case is necessary. I note your comment read ahead of housing, but would assure you that a service post with oversight of the operations of the housing revenue account is provided for within the transition arrangements, and the future management structure will be part of the design work. In fact, I understand that you held a meeting today with senior officers and your representatives regarding your involvement in the design process for our services to tenants, and I will reiterate that as tenants you will be involved in the design process.
Would you like to have a supplementary question?
No, we'll leave our supplementary.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your questions. Okay, question 5 tonight is from Alexandra Fraser. Would you like to come up?
I'll go stay here, if that's okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you, yeah.
Thank you.
My question is related to agenda item 47. It states in the agenda item, key project towards the regenerated town centre, which is in line with the council's board strategy, will provide, listed off a few points here, but the one I'm specifically interested in is the sports and leisure facilities. I'd like to know what sports and leisure facilities you will include on the Olmsfield regeneration that is dedicated to young children and specifically for the 0 to 5 age group. And what, if any, inspiration have you drawn in catering to that age group specifically from the council for regeneration?
Alexander, nice to meet you. I spent some time playing tennis ping pong with him last week or so. The outcomes you've listed above are in the core objectives for the Council's town centre regeneration, which is made up of schemes in Peach Place, Elmsfield and the Carnival site. Now, unfortunately, as you're aware, because we were discussing this offline, that I'm unable to discuss the Carnival proposals because these are subject of, even though they're part of the Elms development, because they're subject of a live planning application, which was submitted in July, and is currently under determination. However, if I just go into some of the other pieces without being specific, and I know that we're trying to get people together with Councillor Jorgensen to talk about your specific concerns on a particular item. But with regard to Elmsfield proposals, there's a range of things that propose that will benefit young children and families for years to come, which I thought might be interesting to list. An improved park with large areas of open grass to run around with attractive planting and increased seating to enjoy the space. A fantastic destination play area which has been designed with equipment for all ages and abilities, lots of opportunities for creative play, active play and relaxation. A large pedestrianised areas have been designed with space to circulate and run great community events such as the May Fair, Winter Carnival and Family Fun Days, which are so popular with local children and families. A new Everyman Cinema, which is part of a comprehensive programme to show regular family-friendly films and offer special baby club screenings where families with small children can watch films in a relaxed environment with softened sound and dim lighting. New restaurants designed to make the most of the adjacent pedestrianised spaces and open space to allow families to enjoy a great day out in Woking. Off-site, the Elmsfield proposal also contributing funding towards a wide range of improvements for families across the area. This includes, and I won't go on too long, three things. 320,000 towards the new tennis club at County Park, which offers coaching for children from age 4 upwards. 95,000 towards provision of a suitable alternative natural green space, SAM, to provide outdoor activities and leisures in the local area, and 4.8 million in developers' contributions, which will be used by the council towards funding infrastructure improvements from their still priorities list, which includes a range of benefit families and small children, such as nursery schools, sports facilities, and country parks.
Thank you for your answer. My supplementary question is that sounds fantastic. There's a large scope for all members of the community, young, old, all ages and abilities there. I'm just curious with the needs of 0 to 5, they have specific, different needs developmentally than say older children. So what specifically, has there been something in there where that has been addressed, like, for example, the current pool has excellent sensory equipment, a perfect pool for them to play in. I'm just wondering, that's a really good example of being catered for that age group. I'm just wondering, with this new development, is there something similar that's so specific and dedicated for them and their needs and their age and stage of development?
Why don't I suggest that we leave that until we get a meeting with Councillor Jorgensen, and the three of us can sit around and explain in detail what we have planned. I hope that helps.
Well, thank you for your answer. I appreciate the time you've taken to prepare it. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for your question. And we're going to organise an offline meeting to go through the Carnival Pool application, because there are a number of different things and some proposals that are coming forward as well within Carnival Pool, which are quite exciting.
People will be interested to find out.
Indeed, and as a mother of myself with an 8-year-old, having gone through the 0 to 5 recently, there are some interesting ones. Okay, on to the member question time. Thank you all very much for the public questions. The first question tonight is from Gary Cowan, and it's a question for David Lee.
Thank you all. I'd like to ask a question sounding on
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary, for the question. But we are compelled by the National Planning Policy Framework, or the NPPF, as it's also known, to ensure that the local plan is based on up-to-date and relevant evidence. GL Hearn were commissioned by the Berkshire local authorities to assess future housing needs across the country in line with this framework. And as you're aware, the original figure that was used was from the old South East plan. It had not been objectively assessed. That was what GL Hearn did. The output of this commission is the Berkshire Strategic Housing Market Assessment, published in February 2016. The assessment currently represents the most up-to-date information on housing needs for each of the Berkshire local authorities and is used by each of them to inform their work. GL Hearn are, however, currently undertaking an update of this assessment, the results of which are due out later this year. This work has been commissioned in response to challenges to the current housing need calculation through appeals, where planning inspectors have preferred a higher figure of 894 additional homes per annum. So they have moved us from the original figure of 856 to that 894. And one inspector simply relies on the previous inspector, and they've been building on that. In the meantime, the government is consulting upon a new methodology for calculating housing need, which, if adopted, will raise our figure from 856, which is the GL Hearn figure, to 876, which is below that being used by appeal inspectors of 894. The new methodology takes the national household projections and progressively increases this for areas where the ratio of house prices to incomes is more than 4 times. In our case, it's 11 times the average income. The ratio in Woking Borough increases the national projection by 45%, an increase from 603 additional households, that's the household increase, per annum to 876. Is that helpful?
No, thank you.
In other words, Gary, as you're aware, we are being crucified by developers who are coming in. I would describe them as carpetbaggers, who are coming in here. They're not submitting their sites under the normal call for sites. We're not being allowed to assess them. Government are allowing appeal inspectors to ride roughshod over us, despite us doing everything that has ever been asked. And you, I'm sure, are well aware of how we've handled that in the past. But sorry, do you have a supplementary?
Nothing's really changed, has it? No, the only comment I would make is that both yourself and the leader talk about the legal number, and you quote numbers both at the council and in the press. And I'm only suggesting is that the legal number is what the court strategy agreed, which is a number that was agreed through a proper consultation and a public inquiry. In fact, 2 public inquiries because of the MBD as well. Now, I do agree with everything else you said, but what I'm saying is I think the legal number expressed should be 626, and that any changes to the number are because of pressure brought on by government. But to actually quote government figures which have not been assessed or evaluated by us or through any consultation process, I think is flawed. It gives the wrong message. Really picking up on your last point there, the Housing White Paper includes a number of proposed planning reforms to support housing development, including the introduction of a housing delivery test, a standard approach to assessing housing requirements, and reforms to the current system of developer contributions, which I think is crucial. And at the same time, they publish revisions to the MPPF. And in a way, it would not be better if we hold back, because this is going to happen in the next month or 2, hold back and see what these changes are, rather than jumping into the fire now on random numbers that have not been proven by any proper consultation process.
Well, sorry, I'll take that as a question and I'll respond if I may. I would totally agree with you. However, the one thing which I would say is that the 894 is not something which we unfortunately have the right to reject. As you will know that from these decisions being made by appeal inspectors. What I would ask is that every member of this council, every member of a parish council, every resident, and everybody else writes to the Secretary of State, because it is he who's allowing this to happen, exactly as Barkham Parish Council have done. They have written there. It's no good criticising each other and actually demanding that we don't have any in our wards and our towns. We are being forced to do this by appeal inspectors, and if we all work together, we may achieve the government realising the error of their ways. And hopefully the White Paper will bring out some sensible resolution to developers getting a 20% add-on to our housing numbers because they are slow at delivery. They're challenging us on affordability. Yet a 2-bed terrace house 3 years ago was 250,000. It's now at 390,000. I don't think this council has caused that to happen, but we and our residents are being crucified by planning inspectors. So I would urge everybody to do what Barkham Parish Council has done and write to the Honourable Sajid Javid and tell him the error of his ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Callan. And just building on that point, the consultation is open at the moment from the central government on the housing numbers, and I would like members and the public to write in questioning the methodology and the new housing numbers that have been proposed for this area, which are higher than the existing numbers that we have at the moment. Moving on to the next question.